Recording 13A.
Just look at this. They're putting one of those cheap restaurant chains in where that nice tea shop used to be. They're owned by some multinational company. At this rate, our culture will disappear altogether and we'll all end up eating the same bland food.
Well, a lot of people are worried about globalisation and the impact it could have on the local people. But actually, I'm beginning to think it works the other way around.
You can't be serious.
Yes, I'm reading a book about it actually, and the author makes some very valid points.
He probably works for one of the big multinationals himself.
Actually, no, I'm pretty sure he's a journalist.
So, what does he say then?
Well, he points out that there are far more ethnic restaurants in England than people realise. For example, there are 7 Indian restaurants for every 1 McDonald's in the UK.
Really? I didn't realise that.
Yes, and globally, pizzas are actually more popular than burgers. I think globalisation could mean that we end up living a more interesting and multicultural life.
Yes, but you've got to admit that worldwide the soft drinks market is totally dominated by just 1 or 2 big companies.
Well, according to this author, there's a new energy drink taking over the market, and it's a joint venture between Thailand and Austria. Without globalisation, international companies just wouldn't merge like that.
Well, I think that globalisation just pushes popular culture to the masses and spreads it even further. When people go travelling to far-flung places, they want to see something exotic, not the same icons they see all around them at home.
Yes, but I doubt local people feel they are losing their national identity just because a fast food outlet has opened up. And anyway, the nice thing about it is that in many places, these chains have to change the food they sell to suit the local culture. So there is a lot of give and take going on, and you still get cultural diversity to some extent.
I suppose so. I guess no one big multinational has a monopoly over the fashion market either, does it?
That's right. The big fashion labels are spread over a lot of different countries.
Recording 13B.
Global. Globalization. Implication. Isolation. Culture. Domestic. International. Local. Skeptical. Modernization. National. Multicultural. Projection.
Recording 14A.
Hi, Jean. You look worried. Is everything okay?
Hi, Mary. Actually, I'm facing a few problems at work and I'm not really sure how to deal with them.
What sort of problems?
Well, we've just got a new boss and he's expecting us to start work at 8 o'clock in the morning. Of course, that's causing problems for me at home because it means my husband has to take the children to school every morning, which is making him late for work.
Oh, dear. I know how you feel. I had to deal with a similar problem last year.
Oh, how did you tackle it?
Well, I didn't at first, and that created an even worse situation. The traffic is so bad nowadays that I was leaving the house at 6:30 every morning to get there in time. Eventually I realised I would have to address the problem sooner or later, so I raised the issue with my boss.
Did you manage to resolve it?
Yes, he was terrific. He said he hadn't realised that the early start would present a problem, and he agreed to let me start half an hour later.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure my boss has no idea how much trouble he's caused. Perhaps I should deal with it the same way.
Well, they say that identifying the problem is the hardest part. Tackling it should be the easy part.
You haven't met my new boss.
Oh.
Recording 14B.
Accepted. Crowded. Developed. Excluded. Included. Isolated. Overpriced. Overworked. Resolved. Stressed. Solved.
Recording 15A. Statement 1. Speaker A.
I think it could be beneficial to educate the public this way. Anything we do to raise awareness of these issues is very worthwhile. The more educated people are, the more advantageous it is for the environment.
Speaker B.
I honestly think it would be pointless. People just don't read leaflets, so handing them out would be futile. Not only would it be a fruitless exercise, but it would also create more litter.
Statement 2. Speaker A.
I think this is an unattainable goal. I think it would prove impracticable even to think about trying to achieve this. Our environmental problems are so great now that it's unfeasible to imagine that we could solve all our pollution problems so quickly.
Speaker B.
Look, I think everyone in my country is so aware of the impact we're having on the environment that I think it is conceivable that we'll have solved the problem soon. It's quite feasible that we'll all be driving electric cars. They're a viable alternative to petrol-driven cars, so getting rid of pollution is definitely achievable.
Statement 3. Speaker A.
I think it's improbable that everyone will abandon the chemicals we're using now. So many people have been using them for years, and it's questionable whether they will be able to convince everyone to stop. Yeah, I'd say this one is very doubtful.
Speaker B.
There are a lot of great cleaning products now that are eco-friendly, and I think governments are liable to start putting pressure on manufacturers to produce more products like these. I think it's quite probable that within 10 years everyone will have made the switch.
Recording 15B. 1.
I refuse to go.
2.
Disposing of refuse is a growing problem.
3.
There is a conflict here.
4.
The two reports conflict each other.
5.
We all need to be present at the meeting.
6.
This issue presents an enormous problem.
7.
We are making a lot of progress.
8.
We need to progress at a faster rate.
9.
There has been an increase in carbon emissions.
10.
Temperatures are expected to increase.
Recording 16.
Let's find out just how environmentally aware you are. Question 1. How many trees do you think it would take to offset the CO2 emissions from a long-distance flight? Well, it's estimated that for each mile, or 1.6 kilometres, that a jet flies, half a kilo of CO2 is added to the atmosphere. So a round trip of 10,000 miles would emit about 1.5 tonnes of CO2 per passenger. The amount of CO2 a tree can absorb depends on factors such as its type, location and age. The company, Future Forests, says that on average it would take 2 trees 99 years to counter the effect of this trip. So the answer here is C. Question 2. What is the most environmentally friendly way to wash your clothes? Well, the solvents used by most dry cleaners are damaging to the environment. In a washing machine, the vast majority of the energy, about 90% of it, goes into heating up the water, not running through the cycle. Washing clothes in hot water, even by hand, uses a lot of energy to heat the water. Keeping washing temperatures low and always washing a full load is the best policy. So the correct answer is C. Question 3. Do you need to always turn off your electric lights to save energy? It is a common myth that flicking the lights on and off uses more energy than leaving them on. In fact, an ordinary bulb only has to be turned off for 3 seconds to outweigh the cost of turning it back on. For energy-efficient and other fluorescent bulbs, this rises to 5 minutes. Energy-efficient light bulbs use 75% less energy than ordinary ones, so if you have those, but leave them on as you tidy, you'll probably still use less energy than if you switch your standard bulbs on and off. So the correct answer is B. Question 4. What is the most energy-efficient way of cooking a baked potato? A microwave uses just 1/3 of the electricity required to operate an electric oven. And, of course, the potato will take much less time to cook. So the correct answer is B. Question 5. What is the best way to help reduce your CO2 emissions throughout the year? Well, it's estimated that one person taking the train for a year, rather than driving a car, would reduce their CO2 emission total by 2.9 tonnes. Hanging out your washing rather than using a tumble dryer would cut CO2 by 0.9 tonnes, and working from home 1 day a week would cut 0.88 tonnes. So the correct answer is A.
Recording 17A. Speaker 1.
I'm a student, so I only work part-time. I managed to get a job as a shelf stacker in the local supermarket. It's unskilled work and very monotonous, but the pay is quite good. Every week when I get my wages, I put them straight into the bank. I'm saving up for a new computer. I've nearly got enough, which is just as well because my prospects aren't good. I think they're going to make me redundant next month.
Speaker 2.
My occupation is receptionist at a 5-star hotel. I got the job while I was studying. We had to complete part of our course in the workplace, and this is where I was placed. It's a very demanding job, and I have to do shift work, which I find exhausting. The perks are great, though. I get to stay in luxurious hotels around the world for next to nothing, and I get on really well with all the other staff. My father worked in this industry all his life. He retired the same year that I started.
Speaker 3.
I work as a labourer on a construction site. It's manual work, so it's very physical, which keeps me nice and fit. My wages aren't great, but I often get to do a lot of overtime, so I can earn more money that way.
Speaker 4.
I've always wanted a career in marketing, so I studied as a graphic designer, and when I graduated, I got a job with a marketing company. I had to compete against some very good candidates to get the job, so I was really pleased. I've recently been promoted, and now I'm in charge of several advertising campaigns. I find the job really rewarding, and that's not just because of the great salary. I get to use the skills I learnt at college. I also get on very well with my colleagues. Job satisfaction is really important to me.
Recording 17B.
Bird. Earn. First. Nurse. Perk. Purse. Work. Park. Clerk. Market. Target. Ball. Floor. Law. Poor. Walk. force,